Cathedral City was officially incorporated in 1981, but well before that, the city got its name in 1925 with the recording of the first subdivision map. This turning point in the city set in motion modern street layouts, paving the way for the next 100 years of people and stories that have made up our corner of the Coachella Valley. From its rough desert roots in the 1920s to the artistic, rebellious vibrancy of the 1930s and 40s, Cathedral City emerged as a haven for entertainment icons, political patrons, and rough-and-ready rebels. By the 1950s, it began to take on a more structured identity, with named neighborhoods, a public cemetery, and a growing sense of community. Long seen as the edgier counterpart to more glitzy neighboring Palm Springs, Cathedral City's character was shaped by independence, grit, and grace well into the 20th century. At the foot of the Santa Rosa Mountains lies Cathedral City, a place sustained for generations of Cahuilla people who lived in rhythm with the desert long before roads or recorded names. These time periods layer and interweave, mapping over landscapes that have evolved over centuries. August 2025 marks the centennial of the city's turning point when modern development began to evolve in the city. This centennial celebration honors that moment of transition when mapped parcels began to shape new neighborhoods, while deeper stories remained rooted in the land. Cathedral City became a city through grit and grace of the people who have called it home. Long before roads and rooftops emerged, the land that became Cathedral City was home to the Agua Caliente band of Cahuilla Indians, whose deep relationship with the desert spanned generations. They lived seasonally across the valley and foothills, stewarding springs, canyons, and trade routes through sustainable practices rooted in respect for the land. One such area was the Cathedral Canyon and Tahquitz Creek region, which the tribe used as part of their seasonal migration patterns. Their presence shaped not only the geography, but the cultural and ecological rhythms of the valley long before the first homesteaders arrived. In 1855, U.S. Army Colonel Henry Washington came across interesting rock formations in the foothills of Santa Rosa and the San Jacinto Mountains that reminded him of the interior of a cathedral in Europe. It inspired him to name it Cathedral Canyon. In 1925, 4 developers launched the area's first residential subdivision south of Cathedral Canyon, their names etched ceremoniously on the street signs: Van Fleet, Grove, Allen, and Plumley. Development was rural and informal, made by dirt roads and a trading path along what became Broadway and is now Highway 111. Cabins like George Allen's dotted the stark desert landscape. Cathedral City soon became home to speakeasies and clubs as the 1930s attracted both artists and outsiders drawn by lower rents, big vistas, and proximity to Palm Springs resort life. Before the tribe operated casinos in the Coachella Valley, gambling could be found in a few clubs associated with gangsters who had Midwestern roots. In 1931, Al and Lou Wertheimer of Detroit's Purple Gang opened the Dunes Club just outside Palm Springs city limits. Earl Salser followed suit by the opening of the 139 Club in 1939. Associates of Wertheimer's, Jake Cattleman and Frank Portnoy, built the Cove Club in 1941. These operators were looking to cash in on the success of gaming outside Palm Springs city limits. All these storied clubs were found in what is now downtown Cathedral City. But in 1941, the party ended when Attorney General Earl Warren pledged to crack down on illegal gambling in California. This was before he became Governor Warren and before becoming Chief Justice Warren of the U.S. Supreme Court in 1953. The 1946 flood altered Cathedral Canyon's rock formations, destroying the features that gave the canyon its name. But the 1940s brought sweeping changes beyond the canyon walls. World War II had drawn many Californians away to service, while others arrived, seeking desert air for health, quiet, or escape. Returning veterans settled with their families, bringing a new suburban spirit to the desert. The end of the war also sparked growth in nearby Palm Springs, spilling over into Cathedral City as demand for housing, services, and local businesses rose. In this post-war boom, Cathedral City began its quiet transition from rural outpost to desert community, during which time many iconic mid-century modern buildings were built. Desert Memorial Park, a significant cultural landmark, opened in the 1950s. Desert Memorial is the esteemed final resting place of many iconic figures from entertainment, music, politics, and culture, including well-known celebrities Frank Sinatra, Suzanne Summers, and Sonny Bono, and also lesser-known local Lawrence Crossley. Crossley wasn't only one of the first black Americans in the Coachella Valley, he was a land developer and champion for underrepresented communities. Crossley partnered with the Agua Caliente band of Cahuilla Indians, and along with his wife, became trusted kindred spirits among tribal leaders. Crossley's tremendous legacy includes several housing developments, including the Eagle Canyon Trailer Village in Palm Springs and the Tramview Village communities. These intentional communities were his answer to racially exclusive housing practices. Tramview Village, now known as Tramview Mobile Home Park, became a social and economic club for underrepresented residents, an early example of grassroots urbanism right here in Cathedral City. This time period was also the glory days of the drive-in theater. Tramview grew, and soon neighboring Sun Air Drive-In became the centerpiece of the desert, opening around 1950 with a double billing showing All About Eve with Betty Davis and When You're Smiling with Frankie Lane. The Sun Air Drive-In Theater showed its last movie in 1987. By the mid-20th century, Cathedral Cove had become a creative enclave, home to artists like Agnes Pelton and Val Samuelson, among others, who helped shape the city's cultural identity. The Cove became known as an artist community, home to painters, illustrators, and creatives drawn by the desert's light and openness. A pioneering modernist and transcendental painter, Pelton moved to Cathedral City in 1932 and lived in the Cove for nearly 30 years. Between 1937 and 1939, Pelton personally designed and built her Adobe-style home and studio, which is now a preserved historic landmark, the first such landmark in the city, remaining on the site of its original construction. Pelton's home studio hosted exhibitions and attracted regional attention. Her symbolist abstractions and desert landscapes portrayed spiritual themes. Significant museums, Whitney, Palm Springs Art Museum, Phoenix, and New Mexico Museums of Art, now present her as a visionary artist. Another talented artist, Val Samuelson, whose versatile skills as illustrator, photographer, cartoonist, painter, lived 37 years in the Cove, deeply involved in regional creative life. Val was art director for what became Palm Springs Life magazine and worked in early days of Palm Springs Art Museum and helped establish Idlewild Arts Academy. A respected instructor, juror, and lecturer, he nurtured local talent and was recognized as Artist of the Year by the La Quinta Arts Association in 1990. Mr. Samuelson's work is on display at City Hall in downtown Cathedral City. Other artists like Billy Seaman and Christina Lillian also found their home in the desert. They brought other artists to live and to visit the enclave of creatives who had settled in Cathedral Cove. These artists are just a few of the many who have called the Cove home, and alongside the city's early independent minds and seekers, its equity champions, and its civic entrepreneurs, they embody the grit and grace that built Cathedral City, a spirit still alive in the structures left by their legacy. In 1981, Cathedral City officially incorporated, planting a flag for local control, self-determination, and shared vision. With incorporation came the birth of a civic heart. A new city hall and civic center rose from the sand, symbolizing not just government, but the city's coming of age. Today, the city pulses with cultural life. The Agua Caliente Casino redefined the downtown skyline. Well-beloved festivals like the Cathedral City International Hot Air Balloon Festival, Taste of Jalisco, LGBT Plus Days, and Tastes and Sounds have turned the streets into stages for food, music, and pride. The energy is local, yet the invitation is global. Cathedral City celebrates its roots, all embracing the future. From flood to festival, fire break to fine art, Cathedral City has always found its form of resilience and reinvention. This is a place shaped by time and tenacity. From native peoples to early rebellious artists, civic visionaries, and generations of working families, each has together forged a city that honors its roots while reaching towards its future. This is not just a little city in the desert. It's a thriving and vibrant community where art lives.